for the Dynasty podcast. Let's go!
Good evening, Riders. Welcome to episode 37 of the Rod Pod. Eric is out tonight with a case of the yips after getting roasted last week by Nick Mirabito and myself. And then Nick went to a Sixers game. So we welcome back into the fold our brother from another mother, Ryan Bickerstaff. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, great, JJ. Happy to be back. Just finished up the semester, only one more to go. And I actually have a fun fact to commemorate our 37th episode. So here are some notable football stars who wore number 37. There's Doak Walker, Lester Hayes, Sean Alexander, Primetime himself, Deion Sanders, and Rodney Harrison.
Oh, wow. I love Deion. I hated Sean Alexander and Rodney Harrison. I tend to remember my favorite 37s as Nick Van Exel and Eric Desjardins of my old Flyers teams. But speaking of remembering, Segway King here, remember to give us a follow on Twitter at Rider Dynasty and like and subscribe our pod. If you leave a review, we promise to read it on air, especially if you say something bad about Eric or Nick.
And we're starting this episode off with a Devy debrief segment featuring me, the resident Devy dirtbag.
Then we will be taking a look at the past week's results and what players to keep an eye on for the offseason in our weekly rundown.
And finally, before the news, we'll visit a little place called Klaus's Corner. JJ, do you have any idea where Klaus's Corner is actually located?
Based on his intro, I believe it's somewhere between the Satriali's Meat Market and the Bada Bing. But now it is time for... Wait. Am I actually going to kick it to a recorded version of Ryan? That's interesting. So, Ryan, why don't you kick it to yourself?
Take it away, Ryan. Hey, thanks guys. Now to get right into it, I have more of a recently risen star for you all this week. Coming out of high school, this player was a highly recruited 4-star prospect. He made several All-American teams, had 81 receptions for 1,990 yards and 24 touchdowns his senior year of high school, and per 24/7 Sports was the number 8 receiver in his class. He has also generated a lot of conversation in Dynasty communities and has certainly improved his draft stock greatly with a breakout 95 reception, 1,222 yard, 11 touchdown effort in 2019. This statistical output included 3 straight games of at least 11 receptions and 100 yards to close out their regular season, as well as a 232-yard, 2-touchdown performance against one of the nation's better defenses, Utah. If you haven't figured out who I'm talking about yet, this is none other than Michael Pittman Jr., a senior and team captain for the USC Trojans. Standing 6'4", weighing in around 220 pounds, Pittman has the prototypical wide receiver 1 size NFL teams covet, and there's a little Kenny Golladay to his game. While he's not a burner, he doesn't necessarily need to be at his size. He will be able to out-physical and out-leap defenders as an effective possession receiver and red zone target in the NFL. Pittman catches the ball with his hands, not his body, and is adept at making catches in traffic, and also at high pointing the ball, snagging passes over the heads of defensive backs. After the catch, Pittman does not like to be tackled. He fights for yards and employs a solid stiff arm to keep defenders away. A play Pittman made against Utah illustrates all of this perfectly. He mossed 2 defenders, leaping high over them and hauling in the catch at a height that no one but Pittman himself could have even gotten a hand on it. He then stuck the landing perfectly and ran past both defenders for the score. Pittman also has an NFL pedigree as the son of Michael Pittman Sr., a former NFL running back. Pittman Sr. played college ball at Fresno State and was a 4th-round draft selection. He won a Super Bowl in 2002 respectively with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and had 5 straight seasons with at least 1,100 yards from scrimmage during the prime of his career. Pittman Sr. collected 9,139 yards from scrimmage and 33 touchdowns overall. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and Michael Jr. is ready to follow in his father's NFL footsteps. He finished 2019 as one of the nation's best receivers and was recently named a Biletnikoff Award finalist alongside LSU's Jamar Chase and Oklahoma's CeeDee Lamb. This, of course, was despite playing with a true freshman quarterback for most of the year. Chase and Lamb had the benefit of catching passes from senior Heisman contenders Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, respectively. There is some cause to be skeptical, however. One of the biggest red flags with Pittman is that he didn't break out until his senior year, where yes, he essentially doubled his stat line from his freshman through junior years combined, but I learned my lesson after ranking Hakeem Butler as the number 1 receiver last year, and now one of the things I look for is whether a player broke out before his junior season. One positive that can be taken from this, though, is that Pittman showed gradual improvement each season before his big breakout. The late breakout also doesn't mean Pittman or Butler, for that matter, won't ultimately succeed in the pros, but it does make me believe Pittman will get off to a slow start to his NFL career. For loaded Dynasty teams who do not need a win-now piece, Pittman might be the ideal target because the upside and potential is enticing. It is because I believe Pittman will start slowly in the pros but will eventually become a solid starter that I have him ranked 11th in my class of 2020 receiver rankings. Of course, my rankings today will look nothing like my rankings by the time the draft comes around, and Pittman could rise considerably over the next 4 months, depending on his combine and pro day workouts. This ranking of 11th would make Pittman a mid to late second round selection in a rookie draft, but like I said before, he's best suited for a dynasty team that doesn't need a player who will contribute immediately. And that wraps things up for me here. I'll be back next week with another installment of Devy Debrief. You can find me on Twitter at the Devy Dirtbag, and I'll catch you in the next one.
All right, well, I am actually now intrigued a bit by Pittman, but I don't know how far I'm willing to reach yet. Being that I have you on the air live, Ryan, do you have any projections for his measurables?
I'm kind of thinking he's going to run in the 40, somewhere in the 4.55 to 4.6 range. I'm sure his vertical is going to be really good. I'd say in the mid-30s. Aside from that, I can't really tell from just the film I've been able to see on him.
And how tall is he?
6'4". He weighs around 220, so right around the same size as Kenny Galladay.
Okay, that's a big guy. All right.
So, JJ, why don't you kick off the weekly rundown for us?
I'd love to. So, Ryan, sometimes it feels good to give fantasy advice. Personally, this was a tough week for a lot of us. I bowed out of the playoffs. I missed the playoffs in a couple leagues based on this past week's performances. But I am happy with a couple of calls from our last pod. So the Panthers lost to the Falcons 40-20. Ian Thomas had a great day, putting up 5 for 57 yards with 1 touchdown, replacing the concussed Greg Olsen, which was something that we had talked about with Nick and Eric last week. So I hope that you were able to pick him up to replace your Olsen shares. Now, Devonta Freeman was back and playing well. I love him as a player, and I hope he can survive the full season next year. Ryan, looking at the Falcons, who is going to be their number 1 receiver for them next year?
I think we already started kind of seeing the changing of the guard this year, and I'm thinking that Calvin Ridley is going to be the number 1 receiver for the Falcons starting next season.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I love Julio, but it sure seems like Ridley's starting to take over.
It really does. He's until he got injured, he was on a real hot streak there.
Absolutely. So, just quick, Cowboys and the Bears. The Bears dominated the Cowboys 31-24.
Mitchell freaking Trubisky, he looked great. So, are you interested in seeing if you can...
No! It's a trap! Sorry about that. It's a reflex. Anytime anybody starts saying positive things about Mitch Trubisky, I know it's a trap. He will suck again next year, except for a game or two. Don't fall for it.
All right. Well, with that, we'll move on to the 49ers Saints. 49ers 48, Saints 46. I was rooting for the Saints this entire game until that safety grabbed Kittle's face mask at the end. Then I was psyched they lost. They deserve to lose after mistakes like that, and that's the reason this team isn't going to make it to the Super Bowl. Anyway, and speaking of the Saints, where the hell is Alvin Kamara? He's MIA. I'm feeling like we should be dropping him in our rankings. What do you think?
I mean, right now I have him at 6 going into next year. He was at 3 for me going into this past season. But, man, I might drop him a bit lower. Guys like Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon are just showing up a bit more. So this actually might be your opportunity to buy Kamara low and hope for a comeback.
That's actually really good advice because I was honestly thinking about dropping him out of my top 10. He just he doesn't look like the same player he used to be. Speaking of, and then the Niners on the other side of the ball, the backfield looks great, but Tevin Coleman appears to be the odd man out.
Yeah, man, I was banging the drum for Tevin Coleman because of the Shanahan connection. But, I mean, seriously, what the heck do I know? Obviously not a lot. But that backfield seems to be the hot hand approach.
They are the
Raheem Mostert, yeah.
New Pat's backfield. Just that weekly headache. Stay away from it.
Yeah, and I actually feel more comfortable starting James White than I do anybody in that backfield.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Ravens beat the Bills 24-17. The Ravens are continuing to win games. Lamar Jackson is a cheat code. We've been on Singletary on this pod for a few weeks telling you to get him cheap. I hope you did. They're feeding him the rock, and he's putting up the numbers. The Ravens definitely exposed Josh Allen's weaknesses, which is throwing the ball. He has no accuracy. He is, yeah, I know, that's pretty harsh. I'm sorry. But he is not going to do well down the stretch. So I hope you got rid of him in your redraft leagues and are starting somebody else in your dynasty leagues.
Yeah, moving along. Bengals 19, Browns 27. This game was pretty boring for the most part, but Joe Mixon had his biggest game of the year. JJ, how's your championship chase going since that Mixon trade we made?
You know, I think I'm going to end up getting second place in that league.
Very
mainly
nice.
Because of Mixon helping me, giving me those extra points. I gave up a lot for him, but you know, if I can get some money out of this league and pay for it for the next couple of years, it'll be well worth it. What about you? How's your team looking?
Definitely. Well, after trading Mixon, it appears I'm going to secure the 101 in that league. My hashtag bomb for Burrow campaign worked out, and, you know, you gotta love win-win deals, you know?
Every time.
All right, the Redskins-Packers. Packers won 20-15. This game was also terrible, but Aaron Jones had a massive one, 31.2 fantasy points, and he scored his 15th touchdown of the season.
Yeah, he's been playing great. I hate to say it, the main thing holding Aaron Jones back is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree.
Aaron Rodgers drives me nuts. Looking at the Broncos versus the Texans, Drew Lock put up 22 for 27 for 309 yards, 3 TDs. Now, it was the Houston defense, so I will wait to pass judgment until a real defense comes to town. Luckily, that's not until next season. Same thing for Noah Fant. He put up 4 catches, 113 yards, 1 TD. Ryan, do you have Fant in your top 10?
I do. I actually have Fant ranked number 9 right now, which puts him right between Hunter Henry at 8 and O.J. Howard at 10.
Oh, I have O.J. Howard much lower than that. I also have Fant at 9. How many yards does Fant have this year?
I think he has just short of 500 right now. Like, he's having a really, really nice rookie season.
Until you look at the fact that he put up 113 this week, which means he had 400 in every other game.
That's a good point.
I might drop him.
I'm keeping
Sorry
him
about
where he's
that.
at.
Sorry, riders. You just watched me thinking about rankings and making an adjustment on the fly. All right, Ryan, why don't you take the next game?
All right, we got Titans 42, Raiders 21. Now, let me tell you something. Nobody wants to play the Titans down the stretch. This team is hot as anyone in the league right now. They're playing as well as anyone. Ryan Tannehill, I can't tell if this is a career revival or just a flash in the pan, but he's playing lights out. And A.J. Brown is absolutely fantastic. I've actually made him a top 16 Dynasty receiver. And I don't think it's too soon. What do you think, JJ?
I don't think it's too soon either. I actually saw a tweet that in redraft leagues that he now I'm kind of doubting the veracity of this, but it says that he's 68% available in redraft leagues. If that's true, pick him up. What are people doing? I need to play redraft more.
Yeah, no doubt. Vikings 20, Lions 7. That is, just give me the top 5 draft pick and don't screw it up this time, Detroit. Moving along. JJ, who we got next?
All right, well, we talked about your team. Let's talk about mine. The Jets beat the formidable Dolphins 22-21. The game was all FGs, and it was more like F this G, because this game was terrible. Luckily, I was on the road, glancing down at my phone, and every time I would get a notification, it was just 3 more points, inch by inch, on either side. Ugh, I hate this year. Anyway, to a more exciting game. Colts 35, Buccaneers 38. Another good call from last week's pod. Zach Pascal, solid. 5 for 74 and a touchdown. He is putting up consistent numbers this year, and he should get a shot at a starting job somewhere. If it's not with the Colts, with another team. He is looking really good when he gets the targets that he's been getting the past few weeks. Now, Jameis Winston with another EKG type performance, all peaks, all valleys, never know what's coming next. But maybe that's just my heart rate. I guess most people, you do know what's coming next. But I don't know. Where do you have him ranked for 2020?
Jameis right now is the number 5 quarterback in fantasy, but he also feels like he's always on the hot seat. Like, he's just a bad play away from being benched. So I have him ranked number 19, which puts him between Jimmy Garoppolo and Ryan Tannehill. But yeah, I mean, that could go higher or lower based on what happens this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. I had, looking at my latest rankings, I have him at 33.
Whoa.
Of course, yeah, I know. Right after I said that, I was like, maybe I'm a little bit low considering he is the number 5 this year. But like you said, I never know when he's going to get benched. But somebody I'm looking forward to on the Bucs is former University of Penn. That's Ivy League, baby. Wide receiver Justin Watson is starting to perform. Player Profiler had him ranked in the 87th percentile for speed score and 88th for burst. He's a smart player who you can get for free in most leagues. Seriously, just ask for him on any other trade, and somebody will give him to you. Nobody is on Justin Watson right now.
Yeah, he'd be a great throw into any trade.
Absolutely.
So, moving along then to the Chargers 45 blowing out the Jaguars, who scored 10 points.
Oof.
I just want to point this out. Austin Eckler is amazing. That man is something else. I currently have him ranked number 13 in my running backs for 2020. Where do you have him ranked amongst running backs?
That is a great question. I have him ranked at 22.
22.
Bottom of the second round.
Okay, that's interesting. So I've actually prepared a game of who would you rather have.
Oh, I love games.
All right, you're going to love this then. So who would you rather have? Austin Eckler or Kenyon Drake?
Austin Eckler.
All right, Austin Eckler or Philip Lindsay?
Ooh, I love Philip Lindsay. But I would take Austin Eckler.
Okay. Eckler or Chris Carson?
Eckler.
And here's the $1 million question. Eckler or Melvin Gordon?
Now, I'm going to say Eckler. However, I just want to clarify. This is assuming everybody has a starting job. Now, with Eckler not having the starting job, I might actually look to some of those other guys first if Eckler's going to be in a shared backfield on a Chargers team that seems to be fading. So hopefully, I'm not sure of his contract situation. Maybe he'll get traded, or maybe Melvin Gordon will be traded. If they both get traded, I would rather have Austin Eckler.
All right. Well, and we'll move along then to DJ Chark, who I think is a very interesting player, but I honestly have no idea what to do with him going into 2020. He has 67 receptions, 956 yards, and 8 touchdowns this year. Where does he stack up for you, JJ?
I have him right at the top of wide receiver 2s. I have him at 14.
Oh, wow.
You know what? He's been putting up numbers despite not really great quarterback play. He has been consistent. He has made great catches. He's running great routes. He has the entire package. So I don't see why he would backtrack this year. None of his numbers, except maybe the 8 TDs, would be due for regression. Everything else is just kind of a solid wide receiver. And I would love to have him on my team as my wide receiver too. What about you?
You heard it here, people. Go get DJ Chark. And so we have the Steelers, 23 points, and they defeated the Cardinals, 17. That Duck Hodges is something else, ain't he?
Yeah, I like him. I have him actually ranked kind of high on my quarterback rankings, only because I don't think Roethlisberger is going to last too much longer.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That's an undrafted rookie. He just keeps winning. Steelers, they might really have something with him there. But other than that, go on.
No, I was just going to say Chiefs 23, Patriots 16. I'm really glad the Chiefs jersey showed up so they didn't have to forfeit. But too bad the Patriots didn't show up. That would have been a good game had both teams come to play. Anyway, Seahawks 12, Rams 28. I really don't get the Seahawks, but shouldn't an MVP candidate put up more than 6 points? I mean, everybody talks about Russell Wilson being this amazing QB. He has weapons. Is it shoddy? I mean, I think it's shoddy, and I hope he is gone next year, or Seahawk fans can expect a lot more games like this.
I don't know. The Seahawks, they tend to have a game like this every year where you're just kind of confounded. Like, wait, you got beat by them by that much? I don't know. I expect them to be back to where they should be next week.
All right. Well, you talked me off of a bit of an edge.
All right.
But now, since Nick bailed on us and went to a Sixers game, but who really cares about the Eagles? So we're skipping it. Now, it is time to pull up MapQuest on your PC and search for your favorite place to get the good stuff, Kloss's Corner.
They got their corner, I got mine.
This is my corner.
Well, I'm standing on a corner.
I want my corners.
And welcome to Kloss's Corner. I'm Michael Kloss. So you advanced to the next round of the playoffs. Or maybe you didn't. Here at Ryder Dynasty, there is no off season, so you need to remain competitive. Now, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence here. I know you're out there grinding. But a reminder never hurts, right? So let's look at a few players that really still might be on your Dynasty squad waiver wire, or at least highlight some players that really could be late season plug-and-play league winners. First, let's look at a name you might not have heard, Justin Watson, a wide receiver for Tampa Bay. Now, with Mike Evans out for the rest of the year, Watson slides into a big role on a pass-first team. Jameis likes to sling it, and Watson grabbed 5 balls for 59 yards and a score in Evans' absence. Now, I've really never been a big believer in Brashad Perryman. I mean, have you? So Watson is a must-add, I think, here at the end of the season. It's him and Chris Godwin now. Now, will he crack your lineup? Possibly. Most likely not. Give it a week, and if you have consistent starters, you can play them, but you might find that the insurance is needed in a title game if you can get an advance there, and who knows, he could help you win a ship, again, on a pass-heavy offense. I also love Darius Slayton, the wide receiver for the New York Giants. Now, I rarely want a wide receiver tied to Eli Manning at this point in Manning's career, but Slayton showed out again on Monday night to the tune of 154 yards and 2 scores on 8 targets. Now, over his last 4 contests, he's averaging nearly 10 looks a game and has compiled 386 yards and 4 touchdowns during that span. From just watching the games, it seems like something is seriously wrong with Saquon or the Giants' play calling, maybe both, but it's clearly not affecting Slayton. I would say grab him now, send out some feelers for a trade. I would really try to get him in a package, or probably a little hot takey here, I'd happily give up a late second, even in this 2020 class for him, really depending on when your trade deadline is. If you can sneak it in now, you probably won't be able to after such a great performance. But as soon as the season's over, look at him. I really am convinced he's going to be a star paired with Daniel Jones in the near future. He certainly passes the eye test for me. Now, finally, I was a little surprised to see DeAndre Washington on one of my Dynasty team's waiver wire, and I really wondered why the Josh Jacobs owner didn't have him handcuffed. Now, while many understandably like Jalen Richard for his pass-catching prowess, it was Washington that showed that he could take it to the air as well with 6 catches against the Titans in Week 14. Now, with uncertainty surrounding Jacobs in Week 15, I am starting Washington in a pinch if Jacobs is out against a Jacksonville team that's really already thrown in the towel on this season. Now, according to Yahoo, the Jaguars have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing running backs this season, and the most over the past 5 weeks. Get this, 11 backs have topped 80 scrimmage yards against the Jags so far this year, and 4 have topped 150. That's according to Yahoo. Now, no amount of mustache is going to save the Jags this time. So check your waiver wires, check some opposing teams, maybe some people that might be checked out, that might be feeling a little bit of hurt of not making the playoffs, or really are just kind of feeling that weird transition period that the NFL playoffs bring. One of the tips that I can give you is I have had some of my most successful trades
Justin Watson a little bit earlier on the pod.
This time of the actual
Ryan,
NFL
is there
playoffs.
anyone that you
might
are
be
keeping
sluggish.
an eye on?
Take advantage.
Yeah, actually,
of
I'm
that.
keeping an eye on Russell Gage for the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. Calvin Ridley is out for the rest of the season with an abdominal injury, and so somebody needs to be Julio Jones' running mate in his absence.
Yeah, that would be a great sneaky pickup. I don't know if he's on anybody's radar right now. Yeah, if I may go on a little bit of a rant here.
You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I know I'm pretty much anti-Patriots. I know that I'm a Jets homer. However, this whole debacle, this taping issue that has happened again where they were taping the Cincinnati Bengals is outrageous. For anybody to believe Bill Belichick or the Patriots organization that he had no knowledge of this and that no coaches have ever viewed such a tape, you must be the biggest rube in America. The Patriots are not the sucker in this game. They keep pushing the limits and they keep getting away with it. Now, I love how he said, none of my coaches watch the tape. Of course none of them watch the tape. Ernie Adams watches the tape. Ernie Adams isn't a coach. He's an advisor, a special advisor to the Patriots. He's the guy who watches all of the tapes. And he's the one who breaks it down and talks to Belichick about what's coming up. If you think that they haven't been doing this for years, it's been reported it was caught by the Jets. They were caught by the Packers. The Eagles chased somebody out in their pre-Super Bowl warm-up. They get caught over and over again. The dynasty is tainted. I can't look at them the same way. And if the NFL doesn't crack down on them for this, I think it calls the entire credibility of the league into question. Sorry for the rant, Ryan.
No, that's all good. I think that was well said. And kind of opened my eyes up a little bit. I didn't pay much attention to the story at all. I kind of thought it was a big nothing burger, but I think you might be onto something here.
I'm just tired of the same old excuses for the most tightly run organization in the league. They often have no clue what their team employees are doing. We had no idea that the ball guys were taking the balls and letting some air out. They were doing that on their own. Oh, our video guys are just taping our future opponent's sidelines by accident. Okay, I guess that's just the Patriot way. Anyway, guys, remember, give us a follow on Twitter @RiderDynasty. You can shoot all of your pro-Patriot vitriol right at me. That's fine. I'm at JJ Wenner. But please like and subscribe our pod. If you leave a review, I promise we'll read it on air, especially if you mentioned my horrible Patriot takes. I'm a grown-up man. I can take it. Ryan, it was so great having you back on air with me. Would you like to say goodbye to the Riders tonight?
Goodbye, Riders. Hey, you can find me on Twitter at the Debbie Dirtbag, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.
We ride together. We die together. Bad boys for life.